Right, okay folks, welcome to another Friday Waffle. You're actually lucky to be getting this one because I've quite literally just come off a 2.5 hour podcast with Mr. Gary Penn, ex-Zap reviewer. I've got to say, what a bloody nice guy he is. He is so articulate, he's so knowledgeable. He's one of these guys that, you know, you ask a question and you're just quite happy to listen to hear what he has to say about it. He's an intelligent guy, he knows his games inside out, so that will be coming out, excuse me, hopefully next Tuesday. It's going to be a video, you're going to be able to watch it and you're going to be able to listen to it as well. So that's what I've been up to tonight. This is 2.5 hours of that. Last weekend I was at my niece's wedding down in here. Great day, really nice. It was in a castle, beautiful venue. Had a great time, you know, really good time. This week I've not been I've not been feeling that great. There is a lot of there's quite a bit of kind of germs going about at the moment. Colds and flus and sore throats and all that kind of bollocks. A lot of people at my work have had it. My girlfriend's had it, and I was kind of thinking I was going to avoid it. I thought, I've been alright so far. Sadly, that's not the case. I've been feeling a bit shit literally since this week, so I've had to not go to Cooksoul because, you know, whilst I did kind of I felt like I could have probably gone on Wednesday. It's not a good thing if you're going to a martial art. Well, in fact, it's got nothing to do with martial arts. You know, you should, if you're feeling like crap and you've got an infectious illness, you should not be mingling with people. And you know, obviously, Cooksoul is a martial art. You're up quite close and personal with people. So I thought I better not do that. It would not be fair to go along and infect people. So I've not been at my Cooksoul at all this week. Not done a huge amount. I've actually, you know what, I've been watching the last couple of nights. When I was at CEX a couple of weeks ago, buying films, because trust me folks, you need to start buying DVDs again, because apparently you're going to get to a stage where you're not going to be able to watch your favourite film again. So if you decide on I want to watch Jaws 2, you may not be able to watch it because it's not going to be available on these streaming services. So apparently there is a resurgence in people want to buy DVDs and Blu-rays, whatever. So yeah, go and get yourself a DVD player and get down to CX and onto eBay and start buying them. So I was down there a couple of weeks ago and I saw it was a 6 DVD of, in fact Blu-ray actually. It was London 2012 Olympic Games. Now if you're a kind of regular to my channel, you'll know that I do like watching athletics. Love it, you know. Prefer that to like watching football or whatever. So I've been watching that, and it's been great. I've been fast forwarding past bollocks like the horse riding and all that kind of shite. Is it the dressage? Seriously. But yeah, great fun watching that, and I've got to say that the opening ceremony was just something else. Absolutely incredible. And you know what's really terrifying about the whole thing was I was talking to a guy at work about it. I was telling him what I'd been doing, and I says, you know, London 2012, and he went, what? He goes, no, it wasn't 2012. I says, it was. Nah, definitely wasn't. He says, it wasn't 12 years ago. And I showed him, I googled it, I went, there you go, 2012, and he couldn't believe it. He went, 12 years? Because I thought it was like 4 or 5 years ago, not 12 years. And that's the thing about getting older. Time is just, it just accelerates like nobody's business. But yeah, I've been watching that. Going through, I think I'm up to DVD or Blu-ray disc number 4. I've got another couple still to go. That's kind of been it. And like I said, I was chatting to Gary Penn for about 2 hours, or 2.5 hours actually. Great bloke. So if you're if you want to hear a real interesting, nice and nasty. I mean, the first hour is literally just us talking bollocks, talking about gaming, and you know, not an awful lot of Zap talk, I have to say. But you know what? It's Gary Penn is more than just Zap. He's he's one of the stalwarts of this hobby of ours. So that will be coming out next week. So yeah, that has kind of been it. I've not been playing. I've not had my PlayStation. I've not had my Xbox X on. One of the games that Gary did pick as one of his best games. I'm not going to tell you what it is because that would be spoiling it. I'm going to go and try and get a hold of it. So listen, I'm going to. It's getting late. I'm just going to crack on. I did get a few questions from last week, which is much appreciated. Let's have a little look. Astrida Volta. Congratulations on the brown belt, mate. Well done. Yeah, I was mentioning that I got the brown belt at Cook, so really pleased with myself. So thank you very much, Astride. Flandau, that's Craig. Totally agree, Alan, about emulation. My mister has got me into so many types of different computers I could not live without it and would never sell it. Yeah, I was just going on about how I can't stand people who just completely diss emulation. You know, it's fine if you can afford to buy original hardware and have somewhere to store it, and you've got the knowledge and the know how to fix it. But for other people, they might not have as much money, they might not have the space, whatever. They might not have like me, they don't have the knowledge to fix these kind of things. So you know, emulation is 100% great, and if you can afford a Mister, then go and get one. You know, I love mine, I really do. Lacosa, I don't know why I told you, it's completely irrelevant. Yeah, I can't remember what the hell I was gibbering on about. I was going on about something, and then he's got here, proceeds to discuss the weather for the billionth time. Cunt, that's all I can say to you, Lacosa. But he's absolutely right. Yeah, you know, I mean, you know me by now. I just talk bollocks. Right, a question from Michelle. MS Knight 5. Question: joysticks. Any particular joysticks, controllers you love and you hate? Do you go to any lengths to use a particular controller on a platform it's not supposed to be played on? Are you one of these people who can just pick up and use anything? The last part of that, definitely not, Michelle. You've seen me playing games. Yeah, I mean, that's to kind of go back a wee bit. That is probably the biggest thing about being able to playing real hardware, is being able to play the game with the controller that it was written for. I mean, lots of people use these, Xbox 360 controllers, whatever, gamepads, and they're wonderful. You know, they've got all the buttons. I've got about 10 buttons. They work really well. But I'm not a fan of playing arcade games with a gamepad. I'm not a fan of playing a Commodore 64 game with a gamepad. I do it because it's easy. It's easy to use. If I'm going to, for example, playing my a Commodore 64 game on a Mister, then I will use this, which is a kind of newly recreated joystick. Really nice, proper joystick, and it's got the little tab. It's got a little add-on, so it means I can plug. Because it's actually an Atari. Hopefully you can see that. It's an Atari joystick, and it plugs into that, and then it allows me to plug that into the PC. So that works really well. So yeah, if I'm going to be playing like an Amiga or an Atari, not an Atari, well, an Atari, yeah, but any kind of 8-bit, 16-bit machine, when they were out, people didn't have joysticks. People didn't have gamepads. Gamepads didn't really become popular until like the kind of Sega Mega Drive. But yeah, I'll always try and use a joystick if I'm playing an 8-bit or 16-bit computer. If I'm playing a Sega Mega Drive game, I'll use the gamepad. Though saying that, The controller that I use for the Mister is an arcade stick. It's a proper arcade stick with good buttons, and it's got a joystick, and that's what I use on the Mister. And playing even games like even Mega Drive games, it gives a really good kind of feel. It gives an accurate kind of response. So yeah, arcade sticks are great. But yeah, going back to the whole original hardware, that is the one thing. If I was to argue why you should use original hardware over emulation, is you're using the actual joystick, the actual controller that it came with. I mean, one of the perfect examples of a system that needs the original controller is the N64, with a little analog stick. You can play N64 games using a 360 controller, probably even a joystick, although it needs more buttons. But it's not the same. It's not the same. You need the original controller. So yeah, I mean, for any modern game, obviously a gamepad is absolutely fine. But no, if I'm going to be playing, any like an Atari 2600s, a Commodore 64, Spectrum, Amstrad, BBC, Atari, Amiga, Commodore 64, Atari ST, any of these systems that use joysticks, then I'll always try and use a joystick, because this gives you a kind of better feel to it. But then saying that, there are some systems like the ColecoVision and the Intellivision. Both of these have absolutely horrendous controllers. They're shit beyond belief. They look more like TV remote controls. They're horrible things. And I think, is it the Atari 7800, it came out with this awful clunky joystick thing. And I would never, even if I was going to play it on the original hardware, I would try and steer away from using original controllers, because they're bloody awful. So being able to use an arcade stick or a gamepad on these systems is great. It's really good. So I'm just looking around in case my dog's going to do a pee. No, he's alright. Is there, what were you saying, is there any that you hate? Well, yeah, like I say, it's Intellivision, ColecoVision, Atari 7800. They've got horrible controllers. I do actually like the original Atari 2600, the classic Atari joystick. That is still a good joystick, considering it was one of the first. It's a good machine, or a good joystick. What is my favourite controller? From a joystick point of view, I don't think I've got it here. No, I've not. It's my joystick of choice was called the Wico Boss, which was a big grey thing, big base, big shaft, air misses, and it had a button you could press on the top of your thumb. I do have one in the drawer. I'm too lazy to go and kind of dig it out. That was my joystick of choice on the Commodore 64 and the Amiga. From a gaming pad point of view, I mean the what do you call it, the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 4, they've both got really good game pads, but I think I can't really see past this, the original Xbox 360 controller. It's nice and heavy, it's got a decent weight to it. I've not got the biggest hands in the world, it just fits my hands perfectly. I think that is the best controller. I've read some people say that the PlayStation 5 has got the best controller. I've never used a PlayStation 5, so I can't really. Well, I did. I used it very briefly for about 10 minutes when I was visiting one of my mates down south last year. But apart from that, that's the only experience I've had with it. But Xbox 360 controller to me is probably the best gamepad. So thank you very much, Michelle. She's got one more. Let's have a look. In 40 years, I will virtually guarantee that nobody will be playing a ZX81. That was a statement that I apparently made, I should say. Now, I think Michelle has misinterpreted what I said. Either that, or I didn't make myself clear. I didn't mean that nobody will be playing a ZX81. What I meant to say was, in 40 years' time, I would be very surprised if anybody is playing an original ZX81. I think it's going to be emulation, and that is why I was going on about. I was trying to defend emulation. People that go on and on and on about. So I'm just paranoid about this dog. It's going to do a pee. What was I going to say? Yeah, that's why I was trying to defend it, because the chances of people still using original hardware in 40 years' time is probably going to be pretty slim. There will still be some diehards using it. The thing is, people like myself who were around back in the day, I will not be here. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter what you say. I will not be here in 40 years. I will be dead. 100%. I'll be dead. So the people that are going to be playing these machines are going to be younger people. But yeah, the chances of them using an original bit of hardware is probably next to zero. But emulation, you can still play all these systems in 40, 100 years time. And that's the point I was trying to make. I didn't mean that nobody would be playing the ZX81. I meant nobody would be using an original bit of hardware. So yeah, I do apologise about that, Michelle. Steve's Gaming, great waffle. Huge congratulations on the brown belt. Well done, mate. You should be proud of yourself. Thanks very much, Steve. By the way, I have reverted to this account. Right, got a couple of... Yeah, in fact, Steve mentions he's had comments on YouTube getting deleted. Now, there's been a few people, I think Michelle actually mentioned that she's been getting comments deleted. I myself, I should say, have put comments up in videos and they seem to vanish, so I have no idea what is going on with YouTube. There's something afoot. I don't know whether it's a glitch or whether it's some stupid algorithm that somehow thinks that the comment is offensive and is deleting it. I don't know. I can promise you one thing: I do not delete comments unless somebody has been obstructive or rude or whatever, or just quite simply a troll. I may delete their comment, but I would never delete anything else. So I can promise you it's not me that's been doing that. So right, anyway, let's see what Steve's got. A couple of questions for me. Question 1: what is your idea of the most perfect job you could ever have? What would be the dream job? Oh, bloody hell. I mean, I could say the old cliche thing, like going around the world and, saving people's lives, or, helping out in the environment, I mean, doing like a safari and helping animals, rescuing animals and that kind of stuff. That would be like a dream job. I think getting paid to do what I'm doing on YouTube, if somebody was going to pay me a decent salary for me just to do this, that would be a dream job, definitely. Yeah, I would say, yeah, making a career out of YouTube, that would be a dream job for me. Yeah. And question number 2: what is your favourite war film ever? Oh, blimey. It's probably going to be one of 2 films. Yeah, I think my second favourite film, war film, would be Zulu. The original. I don't think there was never a sequel made. Zulu was Michael Caine's first ever film. I actually watched it not that long ago, and it's a phenomenal film. It was long before CGI and all that kind of stuff, and that the atmosphere of the film, the sound when you hear the drums and you hear the Zulus kind of crying out, it's utterly terrifying. And when you actually see that the whole scale of the film is incredible. The acting is brilliant as well, and he doesn't actually say, what is it, wait until you can see the white of their eyes. That's apparently one of these things that was made up. Michael Caine never actually made that statement. But yeah, Zulu is an incredible film. But I think I'm going to have to become more up to date, and I would probably go, and it's probably a bit of a cliched answer, I'd probably say Saving Private Ryan. From the off, you're just flung into absolute carnage and mayhem, and you know, it's the acting is really good. I mean, I'm a big Tom Hanks fan, but the acting, the visuals, I mean, Steven Spielberg really he went to town with the visuals. I mean, it's graphically, it's horrendous, you know, in a good way, you know, guys getting their legs and arms blown off and whatever. But the story behind it, and the fact that it was based on a true story, it's a phenomenal story. It's well acted, and it's hard to not kind of leave a mark in you. So yeah, I would probably say Saving Private Ryan. I mean, things like Hacksaw Ridge and Platoon, all these kind of films, Bridge Over the River Kwai, what else? Bridge Too Far. I mean, that's a great film as well. But yeah, I'd probably go for Saving Private Ryan. So thank you very much, Steve, for your for these questions. Colin Jones, for the hardware snobs, that's fine for them, but when they criticise others for choosing emulation, however it's done, they can just fuck off. Exactly, Colin. Nobody has the right to demand how anyone else thinks. See, and this is the thing that pisses me off. And there's a few YouTubers who they kind of make it some kind of unique selling point. They'll go, "I'm playing a Spectrum on real hardware." You know, that's the selling point. I'm playing the 10 best shoot 'em ups in the Spectrum on real hardware, using real hardware. Who gives a fuck? Honestly, have you ever watched a video and thought, oh, the emulation's shite? They're not interested. Nobody gives a fuck whether you're using real hardware or whether you're using a Mister or an emulator on your PC. Nobody cares, honestly. So yeah, nobody has the right to demand how anyone else thinks. I do use my VIC-20, Commodore 64 and Amiga 1200 regularly, but there's nothing wrong with emulation at all, and I'm convinced if it wasn't for emulation, this hobby of ours wouldn't exist. I completely agree, absolutely agree, Colin. I think if you took away emulation, I think this would be a far smaller hobby. Yeah, I mean, because you need emulation. I mean, it's people like myself make videos, people watch it and think, oh, I might get myself a Commodore 64. So yeah, definitely. For longevity, common components are easy to replace, but when a custom chip goes, it's far more difficult. And that was the point I was trying to make. Pardon me, there's burping there. Right, Colin's question. My question for the next waffle: out of the classic systems you own, which would you never sell under any circumstances, barring real and highly unlikely emergencies, of course? You probably know what the answer is going to be, but I'm actually going to include two systems. I know you said one, but there's two which I would never sell. The first one, you know, is, oh, thank you very much, Ava. Lovely jubbly. Cheers. The first one, you know the answer to this one, is the Vectrex. The Vectrex it's a beautiful system. It's unique. It cannot be emulated. I mean, there's I just sound like a bit of a snob there. That's the person I was talking about. It can be emulated, but it's the one system that having real hardware is worthwhile, because as you probably know, the Vectrex uses it's a vector monitor. It uses vector graphics, and whilst you can do a bloody good job of emulation, you know, there's just something about real vectors, a real vector screen, that you can't, it just doesn't come across on an emulator. I think it's the kind of vibrancy and how the brightness, the glow of the visuals. Yeah, it's just not the same. Yeah, you can play the games, they look nice, they play just as well as they should, but it's the screen. If you could somehow emulate, like MAME, you could emulate the Vectrex on a sort of vector monitor, then you might get it. But that's the only system I would say using the real hardware does give you the quintessential experience, because you can't replicate, you know, vectors on a non-vector screen. So yeah, the Vectrex, I love it. The thing is, it's not a system that I use very often, but it's a beautiful thing. It really is. And the second one, again, is probably not going to be any surprise. It would be my Commodore 64. I've actually got two. I mean, the one down there is the C64C, only because it's slightly more reliable. I also have one of the bread bins. I've got the Ultimate 2 cartridge in it. It's my computer. It's a computer that I played and enjoyed over the years. It's the reason that I've still got an interest in playing video games. You know, the MiSTer and emulation replicates the Commodore 64 brilliantly, but it's just, again, I think sometimes that the appeal of real hardware isn't so much you're getting to use the right joystick or whatever. It's the fact when you play like a good bit of software, a good game or a demo, watching a Commodore 64 demo on a PC, you don't fully appreciate what it's actually doing, because you're seeing it coming out of a 24-inch PC monitor. Whereas when you're actually looking at a real Commodore 64 and you're listening to some of the music and the sound effects and the graphics, you're like, holy shit, this is coming out, this is incredible. My Commodore 64 and Vectrex would 100% be the two systems that I would never get rid of unless I get to a point I can't use them or I need the money. So anyway, folks, listen, that is it. That is the end of the waffle. I do apologise about a kind of shorter than usual one, but yeah, if you want to keep this going, please keep the questions coming. Always do appreciate it. I will hopefully be back on Sunday. Can't remember for the life of me what I was actually doing. What was I doing again? I was doing a video last week. I can't remember what it was, and I'm going to be doing part 2 on Sunday, hopefully 7 o'clock until 9. So until next time, folks, I hope you have a really good weekend, and as always, thank you very much for watching.